Isn't it remarkable to see U.S. despots employ terms like common sense gun control when they wave the guns of the state to threaten peaceful people and their natural rights? Hi everyone, I'm Gardner Goldsmith for MRCTV, and that's what Joe Biden said about the latest pair of bills passed last week by the Democrat-controlled Congress with the help of 8 Republicans. The first towering middle finger to the natural right to self-defense and the explicit wording of the Second Amendment of the U.S. Constitution comes in the form of H.R. 8. The so-called Bipartisan Background Checks Act of 2021. And heck, if it's got the word bipartisan in it, you know it's just peachy.
No. No. Hell no. No. I refuse. No.
Among the glorious things the government thugs plan to do with the backing of their government guns is to mandate that all gun transfers occur via, quote, federally licensed dealers, end quote, and that virtually all people transferring possession of firearms register as dealers and conduct the already unconstitutional federal background checks on buyers. As anyone can figure out, that's equivalent to a federal gun registry. As Jacob Sullum writes, for a reason, H.R. 8, aka the Bipartisan Background Checks Act of 2021, would make it a felony, punishable by up to 5 years in prison, to complete a gun transfer unless it involves a federally licensed dealer. Under current law, such dealers are required to conduct background checks to see if would-be buyers are legally disqualified from owning guns. This bill would extend that requirement to private transfers, except for, quote, loans, end quote, or, quote, bona fide gifts, end quote, between close relatives when the, quote, transferor has no reason to believe that the transferee, end quote, falls into a prohibited category. We got razor wire around the Capitol. Everything's cool. It's fine. No problem. You don't have to worry about us. We're totally cool. We're putting up a big show that we're worried about you. That's the story. Yeah. And we're going to take your money to pay for the military that surrounds the Capitol. What do they have? Oh, they've got guns. And guess who defines bona fide gift? That would be the friends of Nancy Pelosi in the federal bureaucracy, a bureaucracy that already operates inefficiently and saw COVID-19 lockdowns also hamper the operations of the lovely federal offices that handle the background checks. As Sullum observes, H.R. 8 aims to, quote, ensure that individuals prohibited from gun purchases or possession are not able to obtain firearms, end quote. But it assuredly would not do that, since criminals already evade background checks by buying guns on the black market or through straw purchasers, and the people who supply them are unlikely to be deterred by any additional layer of illegality. And Sullum correctly notes that on the practical side, this kind of bill merely will make it harder for peacefully minded people to obtain guns, wrangling and tangling many folks who are not dangerous and who, if outside the walls of a prison, are supposed to be able to exercise their inherent right to self-defense. Quote, federal law prohibits gun possession by absurdly broad categories of people, including anyone with a felony record, no matter the nature of the offense or how long ago it happened. Anyone who has ever undergone involuntary psychiatric treatment, whether or not he was ever deemed a danger to others, and cannabis consumers, even in states that have legalized marijuana. If the state claims the power to tell citizens who aren't in custody of the state that they can't exercise their right to self-defense via the ownership of a firearm, the state is claiming custody of those outside the bounds of jail. It's making all of us potential wards of their political wardens. And Sullum writes, quote, under current law, the FBI has 3 business days to process background checks, which makes the name of that program, the National Instant Criminal Background Check System, NICS, something of a misnomer. After 3 business days, the dealer is allowed to complete the sale even without a response. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, ATF, is therefore sometimes charged with retrieving guns from people who took possession of them before it was discovered that they were not allowed to own them. The Inspector General found that, quote, ATF special agents did not consider most of the prohibited persons who had obtained guns to be dangerous, and therefore did not consider it a priority to retrieve the firearm promptly. And then there's the second horrendous bill passed by the House last week, writes Sullum. H.R. 1446, aka the Enhanced Background Checks Act of 2021, is just as poorly targeted. The bill, which was supported by 217 Democrats and 2 Republicans, would more than triple the amount of time allowed for a background check from 3 to 10 business days. In practice, that means even legally qualified buyers could have to wait nearly 2 weeks, possibly longer depending on holidays and other restrictions on government hours, before taking possession of a gun. For someone who urgently needs a gun for self-defense, say a woman afraid of an abusive ex-boyfriend or ex-husband, that delay might prove lethal. The stories of women who have tried to obtain firearms and been killed while they had to go through the waiting period are numerous. This is not conjecture. This is fact. A fact to which New Jersey resident Carol Bown could testify if she had not been murdered in 2015 while she waited for the government to give her permission to get a pistol to defend herself against a known threat. And this reminds us not to miss the forest for the trees. Whether the imposition is 3 business days or 10 business days is not the core of the matter. The core is that agents of the state are threatening people, infringing on their rights, and breaching their oaths to abide by the very document that created their tax-fed seats in office. If that isn't disdainfully hypocritical and insulting and evil, then I don't know what is. The 8 Republicans who sided with the Democrats on H.R. 8 were Vern Buchanan of Florida, Brian Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania, Andrew Garbarino of New York, Carlos Jimenez of Florida, Adam Kinzinger of Illinois, Maria Elvira Salazar of Florida, Chris Smith of New Jersey, and Fred Upton of Michigan. And the 2 Republicans who sided with Pelosi and her pack on H.R. 1446 were lovely Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania and the ever-loving Smith of New Jersey. Perhaps one might want to ask them if the possession of something is an aggressive act, if possession connotes intent, and who would be engaging in gun-backed aggression should the government move to punish peaceful people for owning or selling a gun. The answers are very clear and should be shared with as many people as possible as these bills head over to, yeah, you got it, the Democrat-controlled Senate. Hey, thanks so much for watching, everybody. Really appreciate you being here. If you're on YouTube, I'll see you in the comments section. Please hit like and make sure you're subscribed. See all our videos over on Rumble as well. We'll see you in Parler. We'll see you on Facebook. And visit all of us at MRCTV.org. That's MRCTV.org. And remember, if you want some great items, go to MRC-Store. For MRC TV, I'm Gardner Goldsmith.